It's time to boycott the word cisgender. Cis is pejorative and degrading. Cis derives from cis, which is a derivative of sissy, a slang word that means weak coward. Shame on the person who came up with the word cisgender. It's insulting, discriminatory, and derogatory. I love when people use language as a way of explaining something and just completely get it wrong in every single way. So the words cisgender and transgender, in fact, are actually derived from Latin. It's got nothing to do with the word sissy. So cis means to be on the side of, and trans means to be on the other side of, right? To move across. So cisgender meaning on the side of your birth gender, transgender meaning moving across from your birth gender. That's what the two words mean. It's not a pejorative in any way. Special thank you to my YouTube members and patrons for supporting the channel and supporting my content. How's it going, everybody, and welcome back to another subreddit video. Today we are once again returning to r/AreTheCisOk. Spoiler alert, no they are not. You guys know what this is about by this point. You've seen enough of these videos. I actually have Leo in the background today, so if I have any questions I will be going straight to Leo, who will have the answers. Let's get into the subreddit, shall we? So starting off with a comic. It doesn't have any words, but essentially the comic is someone goes to a bar, they see a bunch of people, someone comes up to hit on them, they say, no, I'm into women, not men. The person says, I am a woman, and they say, no, I don't like penises, gets angry, gets them kicked out of the bar, and then the bar is called the non-bonery. First of all, it's a made-up scenario, right? It was created by a transphobe who has never been in this scenario themselves, and probably doesn't know anybody who actually has been in this scenario themselves. But regardless of that, I just have to point out how stupid a scenario this is regardless. What we have here is a lesbian woman who has specifically gone into a non-binary space, okay? They have willingly gone into a building that is named after non-binary people. And then when someone approached them, rather than just saying, sorry, I'm not interested, they misgendered that person. And then when that person said, oh, actually, you've misgendered them, they then made it about genitals. So ultimately, what this comic has depicted is someone has gone into a space that isn't for them, misgendered someone, made it about their genitals, and then acted like they weren't in the wrong for doing so. And ultimately, it just shows how stupid the comic writer is that that's the scenario they came up with, and they assumed that they were in the right for coming up with that scenario. J.K. Rowling released a new book today about a YouTube animator that gets stabbed to death for making racist and transphobic animations, and it is 600 pages longer than June. This actually came out probably about a month ago, maybe slightly longer than that from this video coming out. But yeah, no, it says a lot about J.K. Rowling. It really does. It says a lot about J.K. Rowling's persecution complex, no less, right? A famous published author is able to write a book about this and is still alive? It almost sounds to me, J.K. Rowling, like no one's murdering people for being transphobes. And funnily enough, it tends to be the other way around. But yeah, no, for anyone that's curious, this book is like over 1,000 pages long. She really needs to sort her life out. Dad gives out over 700 free hugs at Pride Parade to kids rejected by their parents. He is either a pedo or mentally ill. What kind of person, what point do you have to be in your life that you see a man going around and telling people he accepts them for who they are, right? Giving people validation that they never got from their own parents, being a kind, loving person, and you go, he must be a pedophile or mentally ill. No, just no. 6th grade isn't just a school year. It's the beginning of womanhood. Periods, sex, drugs, drinking, friends, foes, and love. Weird that they make these kinds of things just about womanhood, because lots of people do all of these things. Periods, not exclusive to women. Trans men get them too. Non-binary people get them too. And sex, drugs, drinking, friends, foes, and love is completely gender neutral. I don't know how you could attribute any of those things to just women, but also the real thing that got me about this, okay? I had to Google it. 6th grade, isn't that age 11 to 12?
Yes, let's let the 11-year-olds do, drugs.
Yeah, 6th grade, 11-year-olds, that's the beginning of sex, drugs, drinking, and love. No, it's not. Please tell me that it's not. They will be talking about LGBT, gay, trans, etc. sexualizing kids, and then they'll post stuff like this, and it's like, no LGBT activist has ever dared to say that 11-year-olds are now beginning to have sex and do drugs, and yet cis and straight people get away with it on a daily basis. It's a huge double standard, and it's really gross. Don't be talking about 6th graders having sex. Just don't. That's not okay.
Welcome back to Hogwarts, Harry. With magic, anything is possible. Together we must defeat the grave evil, threat Lord Voldemort, who wants to overrun the earth with oppression.
Cool. I've decided that with magic, I'm going to change myself into a girl. I've always wanted to be a girl. Call me Harriet from now on.
Right. Sure thing, Harry. I'll be right back.
Nice. What the? Dumbledore? What are you doing with Voldemort?
Look, Voldemort and I have many disagreements, but right now I need to work with him to put a stop to this.
But why do you even care?
I'm just very concerned about the fairness in Women's Quidditch League, okay?
Is there a women's Quidditch league?
No, but if there was, imagine if someone who used to be a boy snuck in. Right, Voldemort? Sure, right. Sports, bathrooms, whatever. As long as I get to do evil.
It's a satire post. I just want to make that clear. Like, the person that wrote this isn't a TERF. They weren't actually agreeing with Voldemort. They were showing how stupid it is, in case that wasn't obvious. But genuinely, this is what transphobes are like. My favorite part about this is that Quidditch is like both genders. Everyone kind of is involved in both teams. There is no like boys and girls Quidditch teams. They are merged. So that's a funny one. Siding themselves with Voldemort because they don't like trans people is the equivalent of transphobes siding themselves with white supremacists and Nazis because it's the only people that they can get to agree with them and to work with them, because transphobes, turns out, are kind of like the gendered version of white supremacists. I've never thought about that before, but that's a good comparison.
They really are.
This might actually be a good explanation on why nowadays games are so Game devs back then, game devs now. I can't quite figure out why games are so shoot right now. Must be the microtransactions. Actually, no, microtransactions are one of the defining characteristics in what's ruining games. Gambling, loot boxes, microtransactions, having 8 different currencies that you have to spend real money to get. Look at GTA Online. GTA Online started off great, and now its entire purpose is just a money whale, and it sucks, it's awful, it's grindy, and it's boring. Also, worth pointing out that game devs then versus now, this isn't the case. Regardless of how you view this, also, games aren't bad now. Like, this is a really weird view that people seem to have, but some of the greatest games of all times have come out in the last 10 years, okay? God of War, considered now one of the greatest games of all time, came out only a few years ago, with the second one coming out this year. The Witcher 3 came out less than 10 years ago and is considered one of the greatest games of all time. Games now don't suck. People just focus on the ones that do and then use that as an opportunity to attack trans and LGBT game devs, which is dumb and stupid. Why would you attack a trans person who makes a good game they're passionate about over a capitalist scumbag like Rockstar who spend all of their time just making money? Did you know that in the last 5 years, Rockstar hasn't paid a single dollar in taxes, but has collected millions of dollars in tax returns in both the UK and the US? That means that UK and US taxpayers are funding GTA games, and people are angry about trans people in the gaming industry and not that. That says everything you need to know about what people actually care about when they're complaining about modern games.
You assumed my gender.
Sorry, I forgot you're a Democrat. This comic, I don't need to tell you guys it's dumb, but like, I just have multiple things to tear apart with this. First of all, what kind of parent, regardless of whether they're trans, cis, non-binary, whatever, what kind of parent like that wouldn't have made their own child aware of their gender and their gender identity? And what kind of child wouldn't be aware of their parent being trans? Or like, that's one of the dumbest things I've ever heard, is the assumption that they wouldn't know and that this wouldn't have been a communicated thing. Second of all, I just have to point out that mother doesn't have to be a gendered word. And this is something that I've considered, because to mother something as a verb doesn't have to be gendered. It means to give birth to raise, and to create, right? And it's not just women that create, raise, or give birth to things. First of all, trans men can give birth to children, but anyone can create or mother something.
Seahorses are technically, while they don't produce the eggs to create a new seahorse, they are the ones that fertilize the eggs within their brooding pouch and then proceed to expel those small seahorses and technically give birth to a whole host of seahorses. So male seahorses actually do give birth. So
yeah, so male seahorses mother their children, right?
Yeah.
So mother doesn't have to be a gendered term, but ignoring that, the comic is still dumb and a child would most definitely know their parents' gender identity. If this person didn't want to be this child's mother, wanted to be the father or something else, the child would never have been told that that person is their mother to begin with, and would never have made a happy Mother's Day card for them because they would never have assumed they were their mother. It's a dumb comic. Trans men. I am a man despite my upbringing and what other people think. Cis men with fragile masculinity. No, I'm a man. I can't eat pink ice cream. It's gonna make me a girl. I always find these kinds of things hilarious. Like when transphobes will do the whole like trans men aren't real men, blah blah blah, all of that stuff. But then they'll talk about how soy milk is turning men into women. Do you remember that whole thing?
Yeah.
If you eat soy and tofu, it's turning you into a girl, and men can't do those things or turn them into a girl. And it's like
iced coffee as well. There was this whole thing about like iced coffee and cocktails, where if like men were like absolutely petrified to be seen ordering an iced coffee, like that was a genuine thing, because they're like, it's too feminine. I can't be seen being feminine by ordering an iced coffee.
you can't have both. You can't have trans men are not valid men. You can't change your gender, but also soy food, tofu is turning you into a girl. You can't have both of those. You have to choose one or the other. If you want to claim that soy is turning men into women, go for it. But you can't then say that trans people aren't trans, because they are.
I'm teaching year 1 this year. A boy in class has a sibling, year 3, who was his brother but is now his sister, and we've been ordered to use she/her pronouns. I'm going in on Monday armed with a CAS report and Braverman's speech. I will also be wearing my suffragette badges and this t-shirt.
First of all, I can only assume that this is a made-up story, but also pretending that this is a real story. What we have here is a woman going to social media proud of the fact that she's going to bully a year 1 and a year 3. How old are year 1s?
Year 1s are usually about 5, and year 3s are about 7.
Yeah, okay, so what we have here is a woman bragging on the internet about how she's going to go into school and bully a 5 and 7-year-old. And we're supposed to act like she's in the right, and we're supposed to be proud of her, and the fact that she's proud of this, that's embarrassing.
I'm so sick of this narrative the left tries to brand us with. We are not anti-LGBT. We are anti-medical transition of minors. Hoping to buy children a little extra time to escape the gender cult the adults in their life brainwashed them into.
I forgot to mention this at the time of recording, but this woman literally says, oh, we're not anti-LGBT, and then proceeds to call LGBT a cult that children need to escape from. I don't know about you guys, but that sounds pretty anti-LGBT to me. Right, this is the one that I mentioned I was going to get your opinion on, because minors aren't medically transitioning, right?
I know one minor that managed to do any form of medical transition before the age of 18, and that was because he went private with parental consent after years of therapy. Like, when even going private, they do not let you just transition. So I came out when I was 12 or 13. I'm now 20 and I'm 1 month on testosterone. Privately, I did not even go through, I did go through the NHS gender services, and I've been on the waiting list for 6 years. So it's not a one and done thing. The NHS gender services, they do not want to get you in and out and done, that's it. It's an incredibly lengthy process that you probably won't even be in your childhood doing. Like, you will not be getting anywhere near a medical transition during your teens. Like I said, I'm 20 and I was on the waiting list for 6 years. It's just not something that will happen. But even then, child gender services on the NHS are not allowed to prescribe testosterone or estrogen or any sort of permanent life altering hormone. They are only allowed to prescribe puberty blockers, which is currently trying to be taken away from us by the Tories. So no minors are medically transitioning. It's not feasible, it's not accessible, and even if it is accessible, it costs thousands of pounds, and you still go through a lot of therapy in order to do so. And like I said, I know one single person who managed to get top surgery before the age of 18, and even then I think it was about 2 months before his 18th birthday, and he went through years and years of therapy and parental consent before he was able to do that. So it's just not happening. Children are not medically transitioning, and people need to stop taking any form of healthcare away from trans people for the fear that kids are medically transitioning. So this narrative is false and needs to stop being spread, because it is incredibly harmful and I hate it.
So in summary, trans children are not transitioning. In fact, the waiting lists are so long that those trans children are probably going to be adults by the time they get that surgery regardless. Moving on. Computer science students when a female student accidentally enters the room. As a female in computer science, I can confirm this happens every time. Biological woman, I hope, not the so-called, you know. You can't tell me it's not an unhealthy obsession when a conversation that had nothing to do with trans people, that didn't bring up trans people, they were never mentioned or even implied or insinuated at, and then someone brings up a transphobic comment. You can't tell me they are not unhealthily obsessed with trans people, right? This was a whole conversation that wasn't about trans people. It was about women in IT, which is a whole thing in itself. And this person goes, not a trans woman, I hope. And it's like, that was just not relevant. You didn't need to bring that up. Your obsession with trans people is what made you bring that up. That's an unhealthy obsession. You need to get that sorted out. And the final post, I'm finishing off with a Ben Garrison comic because we love laughing at Ben Garrison as the idiot he is. So we have a fossil fuel car and a green energy car, and it says, "You'll never be a real car." And the charging station says, "Closed due to power outage." And we have a multitude of misunderstandings from Ben Garrison here. And I want to break down multiple views here. First of all, gasoline pumps require energy to pump fuel. So if there's a power shortage, that gas car's not getting gas either. It's just first and foremost, it can't. Second of all, I would argue that an electric car is actually more of a car than a fossil fuel car, okay? I'm going to explain why. So a green energy car can arguably run on fossil fuels. In fact, they do. A lot of the power we create is based on fossil fuels and not green energy. When we make energy out of fossil fuels, we can power cars. When we make energy out of renewable sources, we can power cars. However, a fuel car can only be powered by fossil fuels. Therefore, a green energy car can be powered by a broader variety of sources than a fossil fuel car can. When we run out of fuel, which is a finite source, fossil fuel cars will no longer be able to run. When we run out of fuel, we can make electricity in other ways, and green cars will still be able to run. Therefore, they are more cars than fossil fuel cars. They can run and function in more scenarios. Also, what this has to do with transitioning and what this has to do with trans people, Ben Garrison, please explain. What does this have to do with trans people? I don't think Ben Garrison even knows what he's saying anymore. He's just slinging turds at a wall and hoping one of them sticks. But then, I don't know, has Ben Garrison ever put out a good comic? I don't think so. And that's where I'm going to end the video, everybody. I hope you have enjoyed. If you want to support me in making more content like this, then I have a Patreon in the description down below, or equally you can click the join button on the channel to support me. It helps a lot more than you might realize, but by no means should you feel like you have to. Go drop by my Twitch. I'm going to be streaming every Thursday. We're streaming Elden Ring at the moment. Hopefully Leo will actually be able to play with us this time. If not, he'll definitely be in the Discord call chatting. Yeah, me, George and Leo are playing through Elden Ring, so go drop by there. Twitch will be in the description and also in the comics. Oh my gosh, I can't talk. In the comments. So go drop by my Twitch. I appreciate it a lot if people go and watch my streams. I'm enjoying doing them. So that's every Thursday, 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. UK time. Special thank you to all of my YouTube members and patrons who support my channel. All of your names are up on the screen. You are all wonderful, amazing people, and it means so much to me, and I appreciate it so much. You guys are the best. Other than that, thank you so much for watching, everybody. I hope you have enjoyed, and I will see you in the next video. Peace out.